Welcome back. And I watched Christmas with the Cranks, and yeah, that's a pretty bad movie, really. It's one of those movies that sounds funny as a concept, but it becomes increasingly irritating the longer it goes on. I mean, I went into this movie expecting like a light anti-Christmas comedy, something playful, something relatable. But what I got instead was something that was, loud and mean-spirited, really, and strangely enough, pretty boring. And yeah, and instead of something, that was funny, I got something that was more like yelling and screaming, and it was really weird. So the premise is pretty simple. We have Luther and Nora Crank, played by Tim Allen and Jamie Lee Curtis. So, well, that's pretty good. And they find out their daughter Blair won't be coming home for Christmas. So, what do they decide? Well, they figured let's skip the holiday entirely and take a cruise instead. No decorations, no parties, no gifts, just a break. And honestly, that idea itself, not too bad. So, feeling burned out by Christmas expectations, that's very relatable and, mostly for adults. So, yeah, but the problem is how this movie handles that whole idea. From the very beginning, the neighborhood is portrayed as this really aggressively Christmas obsessed cult, like weird. Everyone is hostile, judgmental, and weirdly controlling about Christmas. They harass the Cranks for not decorating their house, well, because they're going on vacation. They pressure them socially, and they act like skipping Christmas is some kind of a moral crime. And instead of playing this as satire, the movie leans into it so hard that it just becomes kind of uncomfortable, like not fun. Now, one of the biggest examples of this would be the Frosty the Snowman decoration. I don't know what the hell was going on, but the neighborhood insists that everyone must put Frosty on their roof. And when Luther Crank refuses, it escalates into this full blown hostility. Like people glare at him, whisper about him, and openly shame him for not putting up, a Christmas decoration. Now, what should have been like a silly joke turns into something, well, oddly aggressive, really. And that tone never really lets up. It keeps continuing throughout the movie. And Tim Allen's Luther, starts off mildly relatable. And let me say this first and foremost. I usually like Tim Allen's performances in most of his movies and his TV shows. I think the guy's pretty charming. But in this movie, he starts off, like I said, as somewhat relatable, but he becomes very exhausting very quickly. He spends most of the movie just yelling and sulking or just arguing with everyone around him. There's very little charm to his performance in this movie, and instead of feeling like a stressed guy pushed to his limit, he mostly comes off as just being grumpy and really unpleasant. Jamie Lee Curtis is not much better. I mean, she tries, but even she's stuck in a loop of screaming and frantic energy. The famous standing bed scene is probably the movie's most well known gag, and while it gets a quick laugh at first, I mean, I chuckled, it also is a perfect example of the film's humor. It's loud and exaggerated, and, well, honestly, really overplayed. The joke goes on too long, and instead of being clever, it just becomes noise. Another example is the frozen ham storyline. It's just wild. Luther struggles to get a holiday ham at the last minute, and the movie treats this as a life or death situation. I mean, he's running through stores, arguing with clerks, sweating, panicking. It's meant to be farce, but it's shot and paced like a stressful chase scene. Instead of laughing, I just felt tired watching it. Like, what is the point? It's not funny. It's not entertaining at all. And that's really the core issue with this movie. It's not fun chaos, it's stressful chaos. And I mean, I get that Christmas can be stressful and chaotic, in real life, but that's not what I want to see on the television. That's not what I want to see on the screen. I do like to see the chaos and the stressfulness of it, but I like to see the fun version of it. That's why I watch these movies. And the film also has a serious message problem. For most of its runtime, it seems like it's criticizing forced holiday traditions and social pressure. But then in the final act of the movie, it completely reverses itself. Like Blair, their daughter, suddenly announces she's coming home for Christmas, and the Cranks immediately abandon the entire plan of vacation. They scramble to throw together this perfect, quote unquote, perfect Christmas in a matter of hours. And the neighborhood that treated them horribly is suddenly portrayed as being right all along. Like, what the actual fuck? This this is just super weird. So what's the message here? That it's okay to be miserable as long as you conform? That opting out is wrong? That bullying people into celebrating is somehow wholesome? Like I don't get what the Christmas message or what the message overall is just trying to say. The movie never really answers that, and the ending just feels rushed and extremely unearned. Even visually, while the movie just looks kind of okay in terms of Christmas vibes, lots of snow, lights, and decorations, I like that. It never feels warm, and that's something that I would like to see, and that's something that I would like to feel when I watch a Christmas movie. This movie just feels cold, very judgmental, and, well, oddly hostile for a holiday film. Really weird. There's no real sense of joy, only the sense of obligation. There are a few mild positives in this movie, I think. I mean, the setting is definitely festive. It looks like Christmas. We have a couple of slapstick moments that, get a chuckle from me. And the core idea could have been really good, but, should have been in better hands, I think. But those positives are buried under a constant sense of irritation. By the time the movie ends, I was more angry than joyful. I was just bored and relieved that the movie was over. It's one of those films that feels longer than it actually is. And, that's because the humor rarely evolves and, the conflict just repeats itself. It's that kind of movie. So for me, Christmas with the Cranks lands at about like a 3 or 4, maybe more leaning towards a 3. And that's, I think that's well deserved for the few chuckles it gets and, the Christmas vibe that it, puts on screen. It's not unwatchable, definitely not, but it's really loud and mean-spirited and surprisingly dull for a Christmas comedy. So if you're looking for something cozy, warm, or genuinely funny during the holidays, there are far better options out there. This is a Christmas movie that feels more like an obligation than a celebration of Christmas, and that might be the most ironic thing about it. But then again, that's my take on the movie. So that's my review. Let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye bye.